Okay, now we're live. Back to the 4-6. Hello, good morning, everybody. So basically, with the 4-6, by the time you get to the 4, you get to the real influence in here. And the real influence here it is that you have to do this archetype that is taking over and it's telling everybody where to go. Who do you think who need these things? It's one of my first things. I thought, what am I going to do? Be a shepherd? All the shepherds I knew have hemorrhoids. They sit on cold rocks all day. Why do I want to be a shepherd for that? I want to attend to my flock, who came up with such a copper name idea. I have both my Uranus in the 12th grade, in the 11th line. I have a harmony to this, and there I am with my damn flock, Jesus. And then I only have a flock because people are attuned to flockness. That's a nice new word for the English language. He suffered from flockness. You can only say that in English. It's really like a flock, but it turned into something even cooler. Anyway, I'm never dealing with flockness for years now. And one of the things is like, why don't they need it? Because it's in a mutation. It's from mutation that for almost the entire 85,000 years, plus that the mutation has been existent, it was always to be the benefit of manifestors. The fourth line theme of the 12. Remember, the 12 is the part of the same string as the 55 and ultimately will mutate, and this line will mutate with it. This will not be the line of prophets and prophetess anymore. I can guarantee it, but it's now. But it's one of the essential ways to human beings are moved. The 12th gate has the power to mutate the stranger. It has the power to transform them. And so what you get out of the 4 here is looking at the 4-6 configuration that you have a built-in, one of the most influential potentials a 4 can have. Not only do they have an actual influence on those that are around them, but they have prophetic influence. In other words, they not only can have an effect, they can actually become a leader. They can become the guru in the ashram. They can become the prophet in the wilderness, whatever you want. But everybody else accept that this is a viable role. It's so interesting. We are designed in a not self to need prophets. I'm not a prophet. The true self requires no prophets. That's not what the true self needs. The true self is not in the flock. The true self is just another unique vibrating illusion of separation, nothing more. It's one of the deepest things that is so obvious to me about the way the world operates. And this is the whole process business. This is the end of the right angle. This is the forcing saying, hey, this is the way. This is what we've learned in our research. This is what we've seen are great for you. But now I've seen the great for you. And I'm the great seer. And I'm the CEO. Be all. I've seen all. I've seen where it is. You can see these children at the 4-3s. Now they can get their friends into so much trouble being their prophet. But Johnny said that if we broke in the window and took the jar, that nobody would complain, that we wouldn't get caught. He said we wouldn't get caught. Our If Johnny told you to jump off a bridge, would you do it? Don't you remember that from childhood there were always those kinds of people that would get into do things that really didn't want to? They're the prophets. And built into us as the instantaneous cow mechanism. All of a sudden there's this sort of dumbed down cow mechanism. All of a sudden you get carried away on your cow. You low, you eat your grass and it blows up in your face. Oh, I don't like prophets. I really don't. You never know what they say is true. They are not logical beings. Just the fact that they tell you they know something. Anybody with an individual gate will scream, I know, when they're deeply wrong. You can't trust that, but the not self loves it. Let me be the fair to the 12 force. If you're 4-6 on this cross, only one thing you can only hope for is that you're properly raised. And if you're properly raised, and ultimately in going through the 3 cycles of the 6-line process, you can finally get to a point that you're not a jerk, and how nice. You can finally get to a point where you can stop thinking, need to tell everybody what to do. You can finally get to a point where you realize that you don't even know what to do. You can finally get to a point where the only way that you're influential is that you live your life as yourself and let the cords fall away. This is the 12-6. It's an enormous potential for disruption in our day and age. It really does. It is written in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, that when the earth is really in trouble, they will be overwhelmed with false prophets. Well, we're overwhelmed with false prophets, and we are in the last 13 or 14 years of our existence. We are at the end of days. In geological terms, 1,000 years or so is nothing. It's nothing. It's maybe half a minute, or not even that. It's probably about 20 seconds of the earth, life, relatively speaking, but it's true. And the false prophets are everywhere, and they are influencing everywhere, and they are the ones that sheep that are following. I remember the first time I went to California, I introduced human design, when I was sitting in a hotel room just at the edge of Beverly Hills, all of this around, and the person who was organizing my tour brought me a local esoteric magazine. Now, it wasn't a magazine, it was bigger than a Bible. It was in a format that was enormous. It had hundreds and hundreds of pages. It's one of those freebie things, and every page was filled with literally dozens and dozens There was, I mean, 100,000 prophets in that package, and they were offering things. It's scary. You have never seen such unbelievable diversity of some nonsense in your whole life. That was a nightmare. And this person says to me, "Would you like to advertise in here?" You can't imagine how fast I said no. It's a time of false prophets. It's something for us to grasp this. And why I was saying that, because it's all in the quarter for civilization and its material principles, that one of the basic material principles of the fourth line is to be the prophet, to be influence the others, to follow them blindly, not challenge them. But this is the way that humanity has developed this point. Now I have harmony to the fourth line. I understand this process, but it's not the process, and it's the point here. This is not the process. We have to get to the process. We have to get to the process what we realize that it's not about being led. It's about fulfilling the potential of your own life, of your own way, according uh, to your own nature. And you will see that when you get to the end of this process, when we get to the cross of the four ways, we get to the close of the quarter, you get to the retreat, you get to the prophet touches me. I'm my own prophet. I'm my own authority. I have my own truth. I am, and that's the score. So in the end of the right angle process, you're really at the end of the building of the form of the principle. This is why the prophecy is off. It's not in the purpose section. It's still in the process section. The process says, in order to take form, to spread, there has to be mutative spokesperson to the new form. There has to be those that drive you to be deformed. There has to be somebody that said, look, we cannot all live in this cave anymore. Out there, outside, let's build little pretend caves and live in them. It's getting crowded in here. It smells. Let's go build a new form. And when we're going to see that in order to be able to build a form, it's very difficult than living with the form. When you look at the 12, the 4, 6, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, 2, what you're looking at is the deepest and most powerful directional mutative forces we have. And they're all messed up here, every single last one of them. It's not like either one of them are right. Some people need a prophet, some people cannot afford to ever have a profit because it's going to work for them. In some ways, education needs to be streamed, needs to be controlled. It always has been, always will be, but the basis has to change.